Hi, I'm Casey, and I'm here today with my partner Ellie to shed light on the concerning issue affecting many Canadians, which is the accusation of greedflation against major grocery chains in Canada.
We are presenting this issue because we are angry with what stores are doing as students managing tight budgets. We also are eager to understand how consumer behaviors are shifting and changing due to this situation.
To start off the presentation, I'll give you a bit more context. Consumers in Canada have faced prolonged inflation, with food being the most inflated item. For example, an article written by the Global News in September discussed how nearly 7 million Canadians are struggling with the cost of living and housing prices. However, despite many Canadians struggling, according to the CBC News article, major grocery store chains such as Metro reported significant profits.
An article from the Globe and Mail states that grocers such as Loblaws profit from greedflation because they can combine segments that have economic similarities, such as food retail and drug retail, into one category. By doing this, grocers can hide how much they profited because food retail made more revenue than drug retail, but because they are combined, it doesn't look that way in the disclosed profit margins. As mentioned before, these businesses have been accused of greedflation. Greedflation involves deliberate actions by businesses to increase prices beyond what can be justified by economic factors to increase their profits.
According to the CTV News, the three top grocery chains have been called to attend a conference in Ottawa by the Parliament to go over their pricing strategies or how they would help consumers in the future. To cope with what consumers initially thought was just inflation, significant shifts in consumer behavior have taken place. For example, a woman named Julie Sear, as highlighted in a news article by the Globe and Mail, has altered her consumer mindset. She actively looks for sales and opts for more private label products over well-known brands. Additionally, consumers are scaling back spending on non-essential items, focusing more on basic needs. A shift in consumption patterns is evident, as illustrated by the increased demand for budget-friendly options such as Dollarama, according to the CBC News article.
While inflation did contribute to the escalation of food prices, companies themselves played a significant role by independently raising prices for profit. This is a fact consumers were initially unaware of. However, with this information now announced to the public, consumer loyalty may shift away from the top three grocery chains.
As a response to public concern, Prime Minister Trudeau has called upon the producers to outline their plans for reducing prices. This may lead to potential new regulations and put pressure on companies to reduce their pricing and modify their behavior. This will result in a producer behavior change.
To comprehensively dissect the impact of greedflation on consumers and producers in the Canadian grocery industry, we turn to various economic theories and concepts.
First and foremost, we'll start by delving into the consumer behavior theories. We find that the degree of intensity of human wants plays a pivotal role in shaping responses to greedflation. For example, in the theory of consumer behavior, it is said that certain wants exhibit a higher degree of intensity. Applying this to the current situation where the cost of living and housing prices are escalating, consumers are compelled to prioritize their spending. As necessities like food carry a higher degree of intensity, individuals strategically cut back on spending in other areas to afford these essential goods. This shift in consumer behavior aligns with the observable trend of individuals like Julie Sear, actively seeking sales, opting for private label products, and prioritizing basic needs over non-essential items.
We can apply the demand and supply model here because greedflation, as described before, affects consumer behavior, and as individuals prioritize essential goods like food due to the higher intensity of these needs, the demand of these essential goods increases. This leads to a shift in the demand curve for basic necessities to the right. Julie Cry is the perfect example of this.
Consumers cutting back on non-essential goods directly affects industries catering to these. And the reduced demand in these sectors may lead to a decrease in revenue, potential results in layoffs, and decreased economic activity. Also, We can apply the demand and supply model here for producers because the behavior of producers is influenced by changes in consumer preferences and spending power patterns. Industries catering to non-essential goods may experience a reduction in demand, causing a leftward shift in the supply curve for these products. Producers may cut back on production as a result to decrease demand for their goods. The changes in spending patterns and industry trends also directly influence the broader economy. Reducing spending on non-essential items means less revenue for businesses in these sectors, potentially leading to layoffs, decreased economic activity. The surge in demand for budget-friendly options may benefit certain sectors, such as Dollarama, which was mentioned before.
The surge in demand for budget-friendly options, like the increase in consumer shopping at Dollarama, also connects to the supply and demand model, as industries producing budget-friendly options may experience an increase in demand, leading to an upward shift in the supply curve for these products.
Now, the only reason these companies or grocery chains were able to commit greedflation is because these grocery chains are an oligopoly competition. An oligopoly competition is when there are few dominant firms in the competition. Therefore, there is not a lot of pressure on these companies to lower or keep their prices low and fair. Also, with a limited number of major players, consumer choices are constrained, and the ability of individual consumers to influence the market is diminished.
As consumers, we find ourselves frustrated by the actions of these companies, particularly given the challenging economic issues we currently face. We also anticipate that consumers will have reduced loyalty to these companies, and this whole situation has raised concern about competition in Canada's grocery sector. According to an article by Russell Redmond, the greedflation has risen questions about the limited competitive landscape of these stores, and it also mentions ways to spur competition. And the fact that this article mentions ways to spur competition suggests that Canada needs more players in this sector. Due to this, we predict that Prime Minister Trudeau's call for these companies to make price reduction plans might lead to new regulations to control these companies, or that the government may attempt to stir more competition among these industries.